Hey guys, it's Bill with Heritage Plumbing, and today we're going to go over what a typical maintenance includes. So the best way to do this is to go through a typical maintenance and show you guys what's involved with the AC system for every customer that we do. We go down to the furnace, and I'm going to be checking and making sure that it sounds right. We will be checking the filter, and then we'll be checking the cleanliness of the blower compartment and also some of the electrical components inside. One of the first things we check when we're looking at the indoor unit is the condition of the filter. This is a specialty filter because it's larger than your typical 1-inch filter. If your filter is clogged up with dirt, pet hair, what have you, and if you hold it up to the light and you can't see through it, then it's restricting the airflow. If it gets so bad, there are a few different things that can happen. One is you're making your blower motor work harder to move the air through the system, so you're wearing that down. Two, the system in AC mode is not going to work properly, and you can actually cause your AC coil inside to freeze up. I've seen some filters that are so bad and so plugged up, you might as well have shoved a piece of plywood in here because that's about as much airflow as it's going to go through here. Number one thing for a customer to do to help their system is change your filter. If you have a 1-inch filter, typically it's every 30 days during the heating and the cooling season. If you have a larger filter like this, you might be able to go 2 months or so. Or if you have an even larger one, a 5-inch wide filter, you might be able to go 6 months to 9 months. I know you love your pets. I love your pets, but they shed a lot of fur and a lot of hair. You guys in particular need to be very, very careful that you change your filter on a regular basis. We open up the blower compartment to check the cleanliness of the blower wheel. So one of the things that we check and make sure all the wiring connections are good and solid. The other thing is this guy here, this is a capacitor for this blower motor. So we would be taking this out and testing this with a meter to test its potency. And the other part we're checking is we're looking in back behind here at the blower motor. If there's a lot of dust and debris on that motor, then there's probably a lot of dust and debris on the blower wheel itself. So if we see that caked with a lot of dust and debris, there's a potential for that motor to have lost its grease, and then the dust and debris is sticking to that grease. And as far as the blower wheel, we need to make sure that that's clean as well, because that's the vehicle that moves all of the air. Inside of this case right here is your indoor AC coil. This is where the refrigerant passes through and it actually picks up the heat that is brought to it through the system by the blower fan. The heat is then transferred to the refrigerant, travels out these lines to the outdoor unit, and the heat gets released outdoors, and then the refrigerant comes back and it does the whole thing again. Now the thing about the AC system is that you never use up refrigerant. It's a closed loop system. You should never have to add any refrigerant. If your system is low, that means there's a leak somewhere, or like during service somebody let some out and didn't realize it, but that's the only reason you would ever have to top off your refrigerant. There's typically an A-shaped coil, and the air blows through the middle of the coil, goes through it, and then it goes into your home, and that's how the air gets cooled. Okay? So the first thing that AC does for your home is dehumidifies your environment. Because think about it, it's cooler in here, and when the warm, moist air hits it, the moisture condenses on a coil, and then it runs down into a tray here. It's similar to like a cold drink in the summertime, and you set it on a table and it starts to sweat. So this drain tray in behind here is attached to this drain here, and the water will run down this tube and then it goes to a condensate pump, which is over here. The water drains down into this pump and then is ejected through this clear tube and up into a drain. Now, in a typical maintenance, we're checking the pump function to make sure it works properly. We're actually running vinegar through the drain lines to make sure they flow clearly, and if not, if it's something simple, we'll get it clear. If it's something that's more involved, then we'd have to talk about the steps necessary to take care of the issue. So then we're going to go outdoors to look at your outdoor unit. We are going to check the electrical components inside that include the capacitor, the contactor, the condenser fan motor, and also check the proper operation of the compressor. One of the first things we do when I open up the control compartment is I'm looking at the contactor controller. The contactor controller works with your thermostat, so when you turn on cooling, the switch closes and it allows the 240 volts to power the unit. So we typically want to see between 15 and 20 ohms of resistance on these points. That means that coil is good. We're reading 18. The capacitor stores extra electrical energy similar to a car battery. It helps jumpstart the compressor motor and the condenser fan motor. This meter can test the unit of measure called microfarads, and it's not on most typical meters. So this is a special meter that we have to use for our job. 35 microfarads for the compressor and 5 microfarads for the condenser fan. So, and we have a plus or minus of 6%. I'm going to put one lead on a common terminal and then put it on this, and we got a reading of 5.08. So that's well within the specs for the fan terminal. Now we will check the compressor terminal. And we're at 35.45. So right at factory spec, so this unit is good. The next part we check is your condenser fan motor. And that's the fan motor that's on top of the unit that you see, and it helps release the heat that's collected from the home. We ensure that the fan is turning freely, and we may even take an amp drawer on it to see how hard it's working. If it's an older unit, we even check to see that the grease is staying inside. It's a sealed unit. If the grease gets leaking out of that, you may see heat damage on the side of the motor. I'm looking in under here to look for the grease on the surface of the motor and checking to see how freely this spins. If there's any signs of heavy rust or the rust mark on the side of the motor, then I'll check further. I may do an amp draw to see how much energy this is using. The more energy it's using, the harder it's working. So at this point, I would vacuum out any debris that's inside the unit and also doing a water rinse of the coil from the inside out. The reason we hose it from the inside out is because when this fan is running, it's constantly sucking air from the outside through the coil and blowing it up. So if we were to hose from the outside, we would be driving any of that debris deeper into the coil. So we start from the inside out to get that out, and then we rinse down on the outside to get rid of all the debris that we clean out. All right, so the last step on the outdoor unit is we're going to test the refrigerant levels. We can either use a refrigerant manifold with hoses, or some of us have Bluetooth gauges. They're both equally effective and give us the same information. So these are my Bluetooth refrigerant gauges. The sensor's right inside this little head here. So all I have to do is put this on and it attaches to an app on my phone. We take that information in conjunction with the temperature, humidity, and other weather conditions, and we can get the big picture on how well your AC system is working. So we offer this video for you to help educate our customers on what to look for and what we actually do every day for our customers during a maintenance. Obviously, these steps are better left to the professional, but if you have any questions, you can always go to our website, www.justcallheritage.com, or you can call our office and we can get somebody right out there to take a look at it for you.